we'll address them to the best of our ability. So let's move forward then. So who's on our commission? Who's on our board? You may be familiar with our structure. The governor is the head of our board, and he has a cabinet. It's not the cabinet, but we call it the cabinet. It's a group of individuals that he appoints. Is that lighting good for everybody? Can you see me? Can you light just me? Everyone says you can see me all right? Yeah, you can see me okay? All right. Please, if we're not clear, if you can't see the interpreters, if you need caps meeting to be large or whatever, please feel free to interrupt. We want this to be an accessible meeting. So this is our basic structure. We used to have the deaf community in place. We had Archie Harris, the Kcdhh, many of those former deaf leaders who said it is time for us to set up an agency for the deaf. It is needed in this state. And so they were smart enough to have this enacted into law. Terry Hostin was involved, Archie Harris was involved, a number of deaf people that you know who were deaf leaders, and they said it's time that we roll up our sleeves and do something. And so they went to the legislators and worked with a number of legislators across the state, and they established a law that enacted the Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. This was a brilliant law. We have other states who have commissions who have gone through what they call the sunset, and they have folded since they were enacted, or they've been moved into other categories or under HR or under VR and the like. So those things have changed over the years. Our commission has remained stable. And one of the reasons we've remained strong is because of the language within the law when it was written. And so I think the deaf leaders at that time were small enough to write it in such a way that we would have a board, and we have a board that represents all of you statewide. In addition to that, they hire and or can fire the executive director. I, as the executive director, serve at your leisure. The governor could fire me, but he has to go through the board in order to be able to do that, to get me out. So in fact, that means that the executive director can remain in place, and the board works with all of you in the community plus the executive director. So here are our board members. The chair of the board currently is the KYRID president, Amy Hatzel, and she represents interpreters throughout the state. Then we have the Al Heiner, who's the cabinet secretary, and he's with Education and Workforce Development. Next we have HLAA, the hearing lead, that's G. Taylor. And then we have the KSHA, which is Kentucky Speech and Hearing Association. That's Kelly Daniel. She's our secretary. Now, understand that our commission is responsible for helping not only deaf individuals, but those who have speech problems as well, and hard of hearing individuals. There are some people who have had vocal cords removed because of cancer or other issues, and so now they're not able to speak for themselves, but they still have to have communication issues resolved, and so those individuals can be helped through our commission as well. Next, we have Michelle Niehaus. She works with mental health issues statewide here in Kentucky. On my far right is Edie Ryan. She's our member at large. And so in the member at large slot, any individual can apply to serve on the commission. Next, we have Holly O'Leary. She is a service provider. So any of you who provide services direct services to a deaf and hard of hearing individual can serve in that capacity. Next, we have Joy Kaiser, who represents A.G. Bell. Yes, A.G. Bell is on our board. Now, it's important to listen to what their needs are as well, and to know what's happening within the A.G. Bell community. Next, we have Nina Coyer. Nina, as you're present, would you please stand up? She is the Kentucky Association for the Deaf president. Next to her is Jerry Gordon Brown. She is the representative for the Kentucky Association of the Deaf as well. And then we have Barbie Harris, who is a KAD representative. So how many KAD representatives are on our board? In total, 4. And how many others? All of the others only have 1 representative. So it means the Kentucky Association of the Deaf has a great deal of influence on our commission. We do have a parent representative, so any parent who has a deaf child can also serve on our committee, on our board. Just yesterday, we selected George Buzzy Tunstall as our parent representative. Many of you all know Buzzy Tunstall. So he will be serving on our board, and he is a very grassroots type of individual, and so he was a leader of our grassroots our grassroots group. We have an AARP representative. If you can only imagine how strong AARP is, that is a huge national organization. They have lots of influence on our legislature, and they can do a number of things for our senior citizens. So we need to have that representative there as well. And finally, we have a vacant position that is the Kentucky Association of the Deaf position, 1 of 4. So we have a vacancy, and so that is now open, and the governor will make that selection. So we're waiting to hear on who the governor has chosen to fill that slot. The governor has 7 positions that he selects from that are submitted for nomination, and he actually makes the selection. So I'm just checking with the interpreters if I need to change the angle. So are you aware of what the commission can and cannot do? Are you clearly aware of what we are capable of doing? Or, are we just this one company that stays in Frankfurt, one commission, and that does nothing? I mean, be honest with me. What do you think our responsibilities are? This is what I want to hear from you all. So many deaf people think that we just work out of Frankfurt, and that's all we do. Well, the comment from the audience is that it's often difficult to reach the commission and to have them call back. Okay? So I need to hear that. I want to hear those types of comments so we can change that if that's an issue. So we have another comment? Yes, we have another comment. A hard of hearing individual just shared with me last night that they were finally thrilled to see someone come from the commission to listen to us, but they weren't able to come this evening because they are at work. So they were glad that you did come down. Thank you, baby. That was good to hear. So what the commission works with, we are a watchdog for legislative issues that may come up, any bills that impact deaf and hard of hearing individuals. you would be amazed at the number of bills that come by us, and we have to look at each individual legislative bill that may impact deaf individuals' lives or hard of hearing individuals' lives. So we try to address those when they impact us in a positive or negative way, and so we try to make changes as necessary. So we are a legislative watchdog. We oftentimes will submit bills. Just recently, I think you may recall that we submitted a bill, but it failed, about having the closed caption movie bill, where we went to the legislature trying to have that changed. We went into the legislators and we submitted the bill, and we negotiated with the committee that was there, but the movie theaters were quite afraid of what impact we would have on their business. And so they sent what they call a lobbyist to the legislators, who spoke on behalf of the movie theater owners, that it should not be open captioned and the like. So they had a lobbyist who was paid $250,000. Can you imagine $250,000 to be spent to protect the movie owners' rights of not providing you with captioning? So the deaf and hard of hearing individuals is like, well, we need to have that access, but the legislators were confused as to why the need was there. So the bill was not passed. They were successful, in not having that issue addressed, and it was not taken to the floor. But on a national level, they heard that Kentucky fought hard, and they said Kentucky is making a big difference. They're hearing that deaf people in Kentucky are angry that this bill did not pass. So the movie theaters are now, you may be seeing more and more captioned movies offered in your community, not. Maybe, now I see more and more in our community being offered. Well, it's not a 24/7, yes, I admit that, but I do see that it's improving on a daily basis. I know that it's not a lot out in the far reaches of our rural areas, but in Louisville and Lexington, more and more captioned movies are being offered. Some have different ways of doing it, where they have the captioning on the back of the seats, or they have the glasses that you use to receive the captioning and the like. Another issue that we work with are police, hospitals, and the like, and making sure that they are providing you with the access that you need, equal access. Education for children who are deaf and hard of hearing. Just yesterday, we met with a 6-month-old deaf boy. Cutest little thing, he's just 6 months old. And I looked at what his future may look like. I would like for him I would like it to come to a point where you don't need me, that he can take over my job and do what he needs to do, that he's well educated, he's college bound, Kentucky School for the Deaf remains strong, that mainstream programs for deaf and hard of hearing children remain strong. That's our ultimate goal. Hospitals. I know that you have huge issues with hospitals in this region, and we'll talk about that later in our program. And we also look at the hearing aid bill that was presented. We have a number of people who need hearing aids, and they're $4,000, $5,000, and $6,000. And with VR services being cut, now you can't have access to afford the hearing aids that you need. We were able to pass the law for 0 to 18 to receive hearing aids, where insurance companies need to cover those individuals. But if your hearing loss occurs after 18, you are not covered. So we are still negotiating on getting that covered. So we're just giving you a very brief synopsis of what we have here